Whoa, you got this is big news. I mean, I had to talk about this right away. Michelle Obama is back on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And not just like a little bit, she's like really back, joining up with Vice President Harris. And listen to this, it's not just anywhere, it's Michigan. On the first day of early voting. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
This is like next level campaign strategy in action.
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating, especially this late in the game, right? We've
Yeah.
seen former presidents and first ladies lend their support before, sure, but this timing, I mean, this close to the election, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's like our source, the Daily Beast, called it playing their ultimate ace. They even said it's like bringing in a game-winning closer in the World Series. So, like, break this down for me. Why is the Obama effect being deployed now at this very specific moment?
Well, I think it's more than just star power. Don't get me wrong, that's a huge part of it. The Obamas still have incredibly high approval ratings even now, but it's also about who they appeal to. They connect with such a wide range of voters. But their connection with black voters, especially black women, is undeniable. This is about energizing the base when it matters most, especially with all the talk lately about low voter turnout and apathy.
Right. And you know what's interesting is that they chose Michigan as the place to kick off this whole thing. What is it about Michigan that makes it so important for this election?
Well, Michigan has this history of being a bellwether state. If you look back at recent elections, it's always been pretty evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. Like nail-biter presidential races right down to the wire.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So securing Michigan, especially now with early voting just starting, could be what determines the entire election. It's just shaping up to be another really close one.
No kidding. High stakes for sure. You know, there's another thing about all this that kind of struck me as, I don't know, a bit unsettling. The article mentions Michelle Obama hasn't really wanted to be this publicly involved before. And they link it directly to, and this is tricky, to Trump's rhetoric and the effect it could have on her family.
Yeah, that's a significant detail and something that we should think about carefully. A former first lady saying she's worried about her own safety because of the political climate, that's unheard of. Yeah. And look, we're not here to pick sides or anything, but we have to acknowledge how this looks. A former first lady feels like she has to speak out. That's going to hit voters differently depending on where they stand politically, and it just adds a whole other layer to the why now of this whole thing.
Yeah, it really does add another layer to everything, doesn't it? And it actually connects to something else the article talked about, the Obamas, and how they could really energize certain groups of voters, especially black male voters. Apparently, Harris is having some trouble connecting with them, if you believe the polls. Oh, that's right, they did mention that. Why do you think that group is such a focus right now?
Well, historically, black voters have always been a major part of the Democratic coalition. But with everything going on right now with voting rights and people worried about voter suppression, it becomes even more important this election. It's not even just about winning anymore. It's about protecting democracy itself.
Wow, that's a powerful way to think about it. It makes you realize how much is really at stake here. You know what else I thought was interesting? They kind of glossed over it in the article, but remember those Republican normies they mentioned? The idea that some people who voted for Trump before might be leaning towards Harris now, like they're seeing him as a liability this time around. What do you make of that?
Right, yeah. Well, it suggests something we've been seeing for a while now, this growing split in the Republican Party itself. You've got moderate Republicans, even some who worked for Trump before, and they're really uncomfortable with where things are headed. They might not love all of Harris's policies, but they see her as the safer choice, the one who won't rock the boat so much.
Interesting. So do you think having the Obamas out there campaigning could actually influence those voters? I mean, they've always been seen as kind of above the political fray, you know? Like they can appeal to both sides.
It's possible, for sure. We have to remember, this election could be decided by a tiny number of votes. Every single one counts. So if the Obamas, with their message of unity and their popularity, if they can convince even a small percentage of those Republicans who are on the fence, it could completely change the outcome.
Man, it's like every single move in this election is so calculated. Like they're playing chess with the whole country watching.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating. The article really focused on the short-term impact, like getting people to actually vote in the next few weeks. But what about the long-term effects? That's what I'm really curious about.
Ooh, now you've got me thinking. What kind of long-term effects are we talking about?
Yeah, what kind of long-term effects are we talking about? I'm hooked. Well, think about it. What if this whole thing works? What if bringing in these big names and playing on people's emotions? What if that's what wins the election? What does that tell us about how campaigns will be run in the future?
Whoa, you're saying this could change everything. Not just this election, but all the ones after, too.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, does this kind of campaigning, even if it works in the short term, does it just make people even more divided in the long run? Are we going to stop talking about the issues altogether and just focus on who can get the best celebrity endorsement?
It's scary to think about.
It really is. And it makes you realize how much is at stake. All this strategizing and maneuvering, it shows you how important this election really is and how divided the country is right now.
This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening. I mean, as we're watching these rallies and reading all the news, it's easy to get caught up in the moment. But we have to remember the bigger picture. What does this all mean for democracy? For the future?
It's complicated. There's no easy answer. But hopefully talking about it helps us understand things a little better and maybe have some more thoughtful conversations about it all.
Definitely. So to everyone listening, keep asking those tough questions. Keep looking for different perspectives. And don't underestimate how important this election is. Every single rally, every single speech, it all matters. That's it for our deep dive this week. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.